You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, and today Freeman opens a new COVID unit amid a surge of new cases in southwest Missouri.
Coming up and blaring down, the question is how long until the heat advisories make their way into the 4 states? We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center. Also, we break down Missouri's new vaccine incentives and how you can enter for the chance to win $10,000. KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 starts now.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. Joplin's Freeman Hospital adds a 3rd unit to handle COVID-19 patients. Freeman's director of COVID services says the new unit is in response to the increasing number of coronavirus patients they've seen over the last month and a half. The new COVID unit will assist coronavirus patients who are transitioning out of the intensive care unit. But these patients still need a lot of assistance, including oxygen and specialized medical equipment.
This unit sits in a middle position, so it's patients that are still very severely sick, but they're not at that ICU ventilator level.
There are currently 46 COVID-19 patients at Freeman Hospital. Dr. McNabb says the vast majority of them have not received a COVID-19 vaccine. Carthage, a police department, recovers a body from Spring River. Authorities believe the body is that of Thomas Whittaker of Carthage. Whittaker has been missing since July 6. The Carthage PD is conducting a death investigation and waiting on pathology reports to confirm the identity. Authorities arrest a man who could be connected to bank robberies in both Kansas and southwest Missouri. The Miami County, Kansas Sheriff's Office says officers arrested a suspect in the Monday robbery at Landmark National Bank in Lewisburg, Kansas. And earlier this week, Joplin police were investigating whether it was the same man who robbed the Great Southern Bank later that same day. Surveillance images show a robber wearing similar clothing and driving a white car in both cases. Formal charges are still pending. A Jasper County man sentenced to 7 life terms for child sexual abuse has been resentenced to 2 concurrent 12-year sentences. Marcus Yoder pled guilty Wednesday to 2 counts of statutory rape. Yoder was given 7 life sentences in 2016 after he pleaded guilty to several counts of statutory rape and statutory sodomy. The guilty plea was set aside in 2020 after a judge ruled Yoder did not fully understand the consequences of his plea. A Galena, Kansas man is dead following a motorcycle crash. The Kansas Highway Patrol says 20-year-old Theodore Lane III was driving southbound on State Line Road. Lane left the roadway, struck a telephone pole, and was ejected from the motorcycle. Lane was pronounced dead at the scene. Another deadly motorcycle accident, this one in Mays County, Oklahoma. Police say 30-year-old Ethan Foster of Pryor, Oklahoma, died in a wreck involving a semi yesterday afternoon. The cause of the collision is still under investigation. The Missouri Supreme Court vacates a lower court's decision in the state's Medicaid expansion case. High Court says the voter-approved plan to offer Medicaid to more people should stand. Cole County Circuit Court argued the plan violated the Missouri Constitution because it did not provide a funding mechanism. This came after Governor Mike Parson refused to implement the plan when the state legislature did not fund it. The state Supreme Court disagreed. Now the case will head back to the Circuit Court. The expansion is expected to add Medicaid eligibility for up to 275,000 Missourians. Missouri's Attorney General Eric Schmidt announces a major opioid settlement. Multiple distributors of opioids, including Johnson & Johnson, reached the settlement that could bring as much as $500 million to Missouri. Schmidt says the money would not only go to families of victims of opioid overdose deaths, but will directly fund treatment and education programs to help those who are struggling.
The size and nature of this agreement will result in the largest victim-centric settlement in the history of the state of Missouri, meaning every dollar will go to fighting addiction and funding treatment for real people, not just general revenue.
Schmidt says Missouri counties need to sign on to the agreement for the state to get its full share. City of Joplin last night hosted a public meeting to go over improvements they plan to make to the intersection of 4th and Murphy Boulevard. City officials say they plan to put in new lights at the 4-way stop. The number of lanes is also changing. It's currently a 4-lane road, but now will be a 2-lane road with the center turn lane and a bike lane.
It is exciting to see this one finally moving forward, and Murphy Boulevard is a popular route for people going to work and leaving work, so I think ultimately it should improve the quality of people's commute into and out of town.
Work on the intersection will begin in summer of 2022 and is expected to finish later that year. Changes will be funded by the capital improvement sales tax. Well, folks in Allen County, Kansas kicked off their county fair at the fairgrounds in Iola. Yesterday's events included county fair staples like cow, sheep, and pig shows and a baked pie contest. The fair also had an event called Baby Barnyard, which is a petting zoo with a wide variety of animals.
We try to educate them on the different breeds of animals. We try to have as many moms and babies as we can so that they can see them, and we let them pet the animals, and we do a craft project, but we just try any questions they have. You know, we just try to answer them and help them learn about the different animals.
The Allen County Fair runs through Monday, and you can find info about all of our area county fairs on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Well, two men take a 51-day trip traveling from Missouri to Mount Rushmore on horseback. Chris Rodriguez and Forrest Drury left Nevada, Missouri on June 1st. And they arrived at Mount Rushmore Wednesday with family and friends waiting. Rodriguez and Drury had help from day one when a family they met offered them a place to stay after a camping site did not work out. It continued from there with each family knowing someone in the next town. Rodriguez says after 51 days of riding horseback, the ground feels good. I bet it does.
That's amazing. Number one, 51 days on horseback. Number two, how neat is it that somebody in the family knew somebody in the next town that they could make it to?
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah, being able to lay, even if it's a couch, you know, after riding horseback all day, laying on like a soft surface at night, it's got to feel good.
I don't know. I don't think I know that many people in my life, and they were able to hit one in every single town. But
Well,
congratulations.
it wasn't the horseback riders that knew the people. It was
I know.
the family they stayed at. Each one just passed it along.
That's crazy.
That's great.
To be able to string that together. Like I said, that's just a really neat story right there. And congratulations on making it safely as well. All right, let's take a live look. Outside of Television City, the sun is already doing its job. Not a cloud in the sky. Look down there, but right on the back of the tree line, though, we did pick up just a little low-lying fog. It hasn't been too bad, and it hasn't hampered any travel by any means. Most people up into the 70s already. Monette and Cassville, 68, 69. Stockton, 69. But 72, kind of the dominant number right now. Run that through Miami, Pittsburgh, Lamar, Joplin, and Carthage at 73. Unlike yesterday, where we were in the midst of having the wind shift, it has now completed that shift, working in from the south, just 5 to 10 miles per hour. We don't have to worry about it being blustery by any means, and void of anything on the Skywatch Storm Tracker. But we are a little color-coded when we talk about our watches and warnings, and that would be an excessive heat warning. That's that purplish color right there in the Kansas City metro area. And you'll notice that runs all the way into next week. Now, the orange surrounding it, that's a heat advisory, and it gives you an idea how extremely warm it's been and how hot it's going to be to the north of us. And if you got to go to Kansas City, if you got weekend plans, know that it's going to be baking up there just a little bit. And as a matter of fact, by the time we get to Saturday and Sunday, we'll be just about on par with them. We just don't have any advisories in effect for us right now, but we will be into the 90s later on this afternoon. Probably cruise into the mid 80s, high 80s by the noontime, and then up to 90. In between about 4 and 5 o'clock is when we max out. Future Track is going to feed us a couple raindrops here in between, say, 2 and 5 on both Friday and Saturday, mainly south of I-44, and not looking at anything severe. Now, I got a feeling we're going to get a taste of a heat advisory here by the time the weekend's over, because we've got 93 for Saturday and 95 for Sunday.
Well, up next, mask for the vaccinated, why the White House says it is considering a change in masking guidance. And for our next 4-state staycation, we head to Fort Scott for an activity you can enjoy from your car. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Should vaccinated people start wearing masks inside again? As Britt Conway reports, that's something the White House is considering right now.
COVID by the numbers. Every day, the U.S. is averaging more than 40,000 new cases, but less than 58% of people 12 and up are fully vaccinated. The White House says we're at a pivotal moment in the pandemic, and it's considering whether mask guidance should change.
We follow the science.
And right now, leaders in the scientific community are saying the same thing. Delta is dangerous. Vaccinations are crucial.
The Delta variant is indeed something that is like COVID of 2020 on steroids.
The threat is now predominantly only to the unvaccinated.
We do know that in our ICUs, we are seeing younger people intubated who are very sick or who are on the floors and are very sick. That should be a gigantic wake-up call.
Earlier this year, the CDC dropped its mask recommendation for people who are vaccinated. But now the White House is holding preliminary conversations on whether that guidance should be revisited.
What's happening now is all the major scientific operations in this country and the 25-person group we put together are looking at all the possibilities of what's happening now.
And what's happening now is being called a pandemic of the unvaccinated. I'm Britt Conway reporting.
White House officials have repeatedly said it will be up to the CDC whether to change official guidance. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says the benefits of the Johnson & Johnson one-shot COVID-19 vaccine outweigh any potential health risk. About 100 cases of Guillain-Barré syndrome, a serious but rare neurological disorder, have been reported in people after getting the J&J shot. CDC says early data shows despite the risk of developing the disorder, the shot is still beneficial. Health screenings are free at Walmart this Saturday until 2 p.m. More than 4,700 Walmart pharmacies will offer free glucose, cholesterol, blood pressure, mass body index, and vision screenings. The pharmacy team will also offer affordable immunizations as well as educational health resources and consultations. Immunizations covered during the event include measles, mumps, rubella, chickenpox, HPV, tetanus, and whooping cough. An 11-year-old Kansas City kid is turning bespoken beverages into a big business. All right, well, Nelson McConnell's unique flavor aids have been quenching Kansas City thirst since he took his special family recipes public in 2018. Business is booming, so much that Nelson just became the youngest member of the Heartland Black Chamber of Commerce, whose leaders say his accomplishments send young entrepreneurs everywhere an important message.
Somebody pay that kid's chamber dues up there too.
That's cool.
I want that better be part of that. They should take it upon themselves, either the KCK chamber or another business. You know, you got to pay membership dues to be part of the chamber. Somebody pick that kid up right there. That's great. I love that.
That's really cool. We've got the flavor.
I like that T-shirt too.
Yeah. That's
pretty cool. I'm a lemonade junkie. Absolutely love it.
And he's got lots of flavors of it.
Skywatch Storm Tracker and our daily almanac for July 23rd would indicate our record high took place 10 years ago on this day, where we got up to 105 degrees. Right now it's 73 in Joplin. Let's go 73 in Schmidt, 72s in Miami and in Pittsburgh. Humidity, it's not really sticky outside, but I mean, you definitely can feel it out there. And let's all remember when we got the flood warning for the Osage River at Taborville, still about 3 feet above flood stage. Hopefully that expires on Sunday. Now, one thing we have been able to avoid, watch and warning wise, that is the extreme heat warning they have for the Kansas City metro area, and also too the heat advisory that's indicated in orange. That runs all the way from that KCK area up through Iowa and then east toward Illinois. That kid's liable to make a killing this weekend if they're going to be that hot, and he's got the lemonade rocking. As far as what we're looking at nationally, look at the big ridge of the jet stream. Stretches all the way up there to central Canada. Now you'll notice, because this is abnormally warm, that is mimicked on the severe thunderstorm risk map, where we see the low category stretching for about 3 states. They're going to have the threat of high wind and hail. We kind of carved us out throughout the Midwest. We don't have to worry about that. Any raindrops we do see are going to be sporadic, mainly to the east and southern portion of the 4 states, say along and south of I-44 for both today and tomorrow. Speaking of tomorrow, that will be a little bit of a scorcher because we're going to roll consecutive mid-90s and then take that right into next week. So while it's going to feel about like 96 today, we get over the weekend. That's when heat indices will read triple digits. Be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
We're learning more about Missouri's vaccine incentive program. We first told you about the state's incentives yesterday, where 900 residents will win $10,000 if they are or will be vaccinated. Yesterday, state officials spoke to media in more depth. Health officials say the incentive is already accomplishing a lot, with more than 100,000 residents signing up. State Health Department says residents have to sign up because they don't have records for residents vaccinated in another state or through a federal program. So you do have to register to win. And if you do win, the state says that you cannot remain anonymous, and that may confuse some since the program is being done in conjunction with the Missouri Lottery. And a new law in the state does make it a misdemeanor crime for lottery officials to ID winners. But officials say this is not a lottery, and talking about winners is a big part of the program.
This program is structured so that we can show people being successful and winning prizes across the state, and people can see that they have the opportunity to do so. And if that is not publicized, then then we would lose the effectiveness of that.
The state will publicize winners' names and what city and county they live in. We've also learned more about cash incentives that local health providers will be able to give to those who get the vaccine. As part of Missouri VIP, $11 million in grant funding from the CDC will be distributed to local health providers. They'll be able to give each person who gets a vaccine up to $25 on a gift card. Joel Dermott at the Barton County Health Department says according to what the state says now, departments will have latitude in how they administer the program. He says otherwise there's not many details, and he's not sure yet if Barton County will participate.
Gift cards are great, but you would like those dollars to stay local if you can. And so we're not sure how that's going to work. It's got the potential to be a nice little program. And it's got the potential to be difficult to administer.
Dermott says the state would like the program to start next month.
Hi, this is Ashley at Joplin.
We'll have details of those incentives on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. We'll be right back.
Welcome.
It's time to honor today's four-state hero, Corporal Matthew Reynolds. Served in the United States Marines in 2004. His hometown, Hume, Missouri. We are proud to salute Matthew Reynolds, our four-state hero. You've probably heard the saying, life's not about the journey, or life's about the journey, not the destination. Well, the same can be said about travel. Sometimes the drive can be just as rewarding. For our next four-state staycation, KOAM photojournalist Liam Mandelbaum takes us on the Fort Scott Historic Driving Tour, where the town's vintage beauty is on full display.
We are right here on the historic brick streets of Fort Scott, Kansas. We have some homes that you will not be able to find in every community. Some of them are owned by Fort Scott natives, but such as this one behind me, we're fortunate that people have moved here from out of town. This couple moved here really simply for the home. The historic tour of Fort Scott starts out from the Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Center, takes you through our historic downtown, most of which all of the buildings are on the National Register of Historic Places. We have a trolley tour that runs on Friday and Saturdays by appointment, or we have a driving tour brochure that's available if people just want to tour on their own and check out the notable architecture of the historic homes, most of which were built in the late 1800s. So it is really neat to hear from visitors when they come in How do you get your downtown revived like this? All the buildings, our downtown has just really had a resurgence in the past few years, and they're just like, how do you do it? How do you get people to take pride in the community? And we're blessed for that. You just can't build things like this today and replicate some of the things that they built back then, and the stories behind them as well.
Pretty cool. We'll put a map of its route in this story on our morning show page at KOAMnewsnow.com. Our news and weather is just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, a massive outage.
A widespread internet outage sparking fears of a hack. I'm Lauren Blanchard. What caused websites to go down and why politicians here in D.C. say it only shows more money is needed to improve the nation's infrastructure.
And why you could soon see cheerleading in the Olympics. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back.
State's most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:30. Let's take a look at today's top stories. Joplin's Freeman Hospital adds a third unit to handle COVID-19 patients. Freeman's director of COVID services says the new unit is in response to the increasing number of coronavirus patients they've seen over the last month and a half. The new COVID unit will assist coronavirus patients who are transitioning out of the intensive care unit. Freeman is currently caring for 46 COVID-infected patients. The new unit will help deal with a pandemic that's requiring more and more of the hospital's resources. Carthage Police Department recovers a body from Spring River. Authorities believe the body is that of Thomas Whittaker of Carthage. Whittaker has been missing since July 6. Carthage PD is conducting a death investigation and waiting on pathology reports to confirm the identity. Authorities arrest a man who could be connected to bank robberies in both Kansas and southwest Missouri. The Miami County, Kansas Sheriff's Office says officers have arrested a suspect in the robbery of Landmark National Bank in Lewisburg, Kansas on Monday. Earlier this week, Joplin police were investigating whether it was the same man who robbed the Great Southern Bank later that same day. Surveillance images show a robber wearing similar clothing and driving a white car in both cases. Formal charges are still pending. Jasper County man sentenced to 7 life terms for child sexual abuse is resentenced to 2 concurrent 12-year sentences. Marcus Yoder pled guilty Wednesday to 2 counts of statutory rape. Yoder was given 7 life sentences in 2016 after he pleaded guilty to several counts of statutory rape and statutory sodomy. Guilty plea was set aside in 2020 after a judge ruled Yoder did not fully understand the consequences of his plea. And a Galena, Kansas man is dead following a motorcycle crash. The Kansas Highway Patrol says 20-year-old Theodore Lane III was driving southbound on State Line Road. Lane left the roadway, struck a telephone pole, and was ejected from the motorcycle. Lane was pronounced dead at the scene. Well, another deadly motorcycle accident, this one in Mays County, Oklahoma. Police say 30-year-old Ethan Foster of Pryor, Oklahoma, died in a wreck involving a semi yesterday afternoon. The cause of the collision is still under investigation. Missouri Supreme Court vacates a lower court's decision in the state's Medicaid expansion case. High Court says the voter-approved plan to offer Medicaid to more people should stand. Cole County Circuit Court argued the plan violated the Missouri Constitution because it did not provide a funding mechanism. This came after Governor Mike Parson refused to implement the plan when the state legislature did not fund it. The state Supreme Court disagreed, and now the case will head back to the Circuit Court. The expansion is expected to add Medicaid eligibility for up to 275,000 Missourians. National Weather Service has a new way to warn you that dangerous storms could be in your area. NWS is adding a damage threat tag to its severe thunderstorm warnings. They say the new tag will better convey the potential impact from thunderstorm winds and hail. Damage threat will come in 3 categories: destructive, considerable, and base. Base stands for baseline, which is the lowest of threat levels. Destructive is the most dangerous threat, and it means baseball-sized hail, 80-mile-an-hour winds may be present. It means an area is facing a life-threatening thunderstorm that could cause substantial damage. These storms could also trigger a wireless emergency alert on your mobile devices. The new threat tag will start being used July 28th.
I really don't think everybody out there in the audience, and I'm glad you brought that up, Tanya, I don't think we're going to see you're not going to notice a whole lot of changes in it. Yeah, they're changing wording, and this is actually something they've been working on for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this isn't just something they whipped out of their back pocket and they're like, let's do this.
Ask like how long you've known about
right.
stuff like this.
And they've been asking for surveys from across the country, from meteorologists and everything. So yeah, this has been a work in progress for some time. And like I said, you at home, I don't think you're not going to notice a big difference in it whatsoever. You may hear our terminology change just a little bit, but when we do the severe thunderstorm risk map, we're still looking at minimal, low, et cetera, and really the only low category we see is in the far upper plains. Tell you why here in just a little bit. Tanya, have you noticed that during the afternoon it's been a little bit hazy?
Yes.
I'm not going to say we have cloud cover, but it just kind of seems like it's not a fog. You know what that is? That's smoke from the California wildfires.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's going to be here all the way probably through the weekend too. So yeah, that haze that you'll notice during the afternoon, that's what that's from. It's actually from way out west. Whole bunch of 70s already, give you an idea how quickly we're going to warm up today as the wind has now shifted and is coming in due south. We do have a flood warning, Osage River at the Taborville gauge, still about 3 feet above flood stage. And while we do not have any watches or warnings in our area associated with the heat, they do in the Kansas City metro area. That's an excessive heat watch and then heat advisories in the orange. I think eventually by the time the weekend concludes, we're going to be under a heat advisory as well, because after a 90 today, how about a 93 and a 95 on Saturday and Sunday? We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. Time now for our KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll. Today happens to be the day, albeit a year overdue, that the Tokyo 2020, or 2021 if you will, Summer Olympics officially underway with a streamlined opening ceremony. USA women's basketball star Sue Bird and baseball infielder / Winter Olympic silver medalist speed skater, that's right, Eddie Alvarez, he does it all, they were chosen as flag bearers for Team USA. First Lady Jill Biden leading the U.S. delegation at the opening ceremony, and like all the competitions, the stands for the ceremony going to be mostly empty. In addition to COVID's negative impact, games hit by some controversies as cases in Tokyo have reached a 6-month high of nearly 2,000 people. Of interest, Coco Gauff, Bradley Beal, and Taylor Grubb, all U.S. athletes that will not be allowed to participate because of COVID tests. In Grubb's particular case, he's not only been vaccinated, but he says he had 4 negative tests before arriving in Tokyo and then testing positive. Our question to you, are you watching the Olympics this year? Right now, 77% of you say no. You may have just bypassed it because it didn't happen regularly scheduled. You can make your voice heard each and every morning by going to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Tanya?
Well, Michael, the Olympics could soon feature a new sport, competitive cheerleading. The International Olympic Committee approved the sport this week. Cheerleaders could be Olympians by the year 2028. When the Summer Games come to Los Angeles. Tivas Ellis has reaction from Oklahoma cheer groups.
There's still a lot of behind-the-scenes work to be done before cheerleading is a full Olympic sport, but gyms across the state are excited just from the prospect of going to the next level.
I got so many text messages and Facebook messages. I mean, even the whole cheer world was really excited about the news, because again, it's something that we've been trying to get for a very long time.
For us and our girls and boys, they get to grow up and see it and hopefully see it in the next one, watching their passion and their dreams come true on TV.
The International Cheer Union has fought for nearly 2 decades to join the Olympics, but local competition cheer squads have garnered national recognition, putting cheerleading higher in discussions. Cheerleading might seem like an unconventional Olympic sport, but the games have continued to diversify. Ahead of the 2020 games, the IOC added rock climbing, skateboarding, and even breakdancing.
Now it's going to make it a lot easier for athletes around the world to become cheerleaders.
Local cheer gyms say the sport has wide appeal with levels for all ages and genders.
And it's the most ultimate team sport. I mean, you miss one athlete and you just can't do it.
And along with this expansion in the cheer world, Rain Athletics in Mustang says they're already planning on adding more space to their gym.
Keep in mind, you will not see cheer in the Tokyo Games. It's possible it could appear in Paris in 2024, but most likely they'll hit the mat in LA in 7 years.
All right, that'll be exciting. I know there's a lot of cheerleading fans here in the 4 states. We'll be right back. Claims for unemployment benefits unexpectedly rose last week. 419,000 Americans filed jobless claims. That's 50,000 more than the previous week. It's a stark reminder that the economy is not yet back to normal. Economists worry the recovery process is slowing because of the quickly spreading coronavirus Delta variant. You might have to wait longer if you order a Domino's pizza. The company says deliveries in some areas are running behind by, quote, a minute or two. Spokesperson won't be more specific. Domino's says the problem is a staffing shortage. He says it's raising wages in hopes of attracting more workers. Just a minute or two. Travel agents say they've been busier than ever planning trips and that some travel has resumed, but with concerns rising due to the Delta variant, it leaves one to wonder if now is a good time to take that trip. Justin Collar has more.
Everybody's traveling.
If this view looks good to you,
Everybody had the same idea.
then you'd better get in line.
In the next 4 weeks, I have 5 groups traveling, a total of maybe 380 people traveling, all to Mexico or Dominican Republic. But it's busy, and I mean, it's 60 to 70 calls a day busy.
And with so much business, you can only imagine what that's done to the prices.
The one thing that is really hard right now, of course, is air. There's only so many seats and there's a lot of butts, because it isn't cheaper right now.
Travel agent Suze says folks aren't worried about traveling to the Caribbean or Mexico anymore after being told not to travel for the last year and a half.
It's kind of like when you're a kid and you're told, no, you can't do this. Guess what the first thing is you want to do? That.
That is, if you're vaccinated. If not, medical experts say the time to travel hasn't come.
So there's going to continue to be a significant surge in the unvaccinated population. The Delta virus is highly, highly contagious. For the time being, if you're vaccinated, especially with the Pfizer Moderna, the likelihood of you getting the Delta variant is very low. So it is safe to travel.
If you do decide to travel, experts say you'd be wise to get your passport, get it early, get travel insurance, and if all this info has you in a tailspin, get an agent.
And I know I'm biased, but use an agent. If you don't use me, use somebody. Because we're experts in it. We're being advised of these things every day. These changes are happening rapidly.
We'll be right back with more after this, but first let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell. It's time for What the Tech. A major outage online took down a number of major websites for about an hour on Thursday, and what was feared to be another hack attack turned out to be a failed software update that briefly broke the internet. Lauren Blanchard explains why some in D.C. point to this as a reason for more infrastructure spending.
Shipping, travel, and banking sites offline Thursday. Websites including Amazon, Delta, Capital One, and FedEx all went down for about an hour. The content delivery network Akamai says a bug in their software configuration update caused the outages. But before the reason was known, there were immediate fears of a widespread hack. In a statement, the company confirming this was not a result of a cyber attack on the Akamai platform. With the third major internet outage in just 2 months, many fear U.S. infrastructure has not kept up with an increasing reliance on the web.
We know both our energy and our internet grids are not secure. They are not up to date. We need more investment.
Nor are there enough domain name system or DNS providers like Akamai that thousands of online businesses rely on.
If this is 1 hour, imagine if it was 6 hours or 12 hours. These internet outages can actually cause
real actions to happen in communities.
The president continues to push for more infrastructure spending, including money for better and more secure internet, especially in rural areas.
What we're doing here is, in this race for the future, it's about connecting Americans, all Americans, rural and urban, to high-speed internet.
That's where the money should be focused, right? Certainly on hard infrastructure, but broadband, rural broadband, all kinds of revitalization efforts, but this is where the money should be spent.
According to the White House, the bipartisan spending bill would have $65 billion dedicated to broadband infrastructure. Mercedes-Benz says its future is green. The luxury car brand says it's pushing to transition to all electric cars by the year 2030, and that from 2025 onwards. All newly launched vehicle architectures would be electric. The company is planning on investing $48 billion in battery-driven cars between 2022 and the year 2080. Wow, hard to think about that far ahead. And it's setting up 8 factories to produce battery cells. Instagram has a way for users to translate text in story post. Going forward, when the platform detects a story caption in a foreign language, a C translation option will pop up. The service can convert text in up to 90 languages, including Japanese and Portuguese. But reps say audio translation is not yet available. Instagram rolled out automatic captioning for English-speaking story videos earlier this year. The update is part of Instagram's efforts to make the platform more inclusive and engaging. Back to that electric car models by the year 2080. I'm personally hoping, Michael, that we will be in flying cars well before then.
I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. 2080?
I know. Well, okay, so hey, who knows? We might still be around.
It'll be, you know what it'll be? It'll be the AI version of us. Don't say anything about AI anchors, folks. So, Tanya's afraid that we're all going to be replaced by artificial intelligence anchors. So don't say anything to her when you see her out in public. This is just between you and me, okay? No, Tanya, it'll be fine. Everything is fine. I'm fine.
Once said a wise woman.
Nailed it right there. Live look outside of Television City. Tanya and I were talking about that haze that you're going to notice here for the next several days. Probably noticed it here in the middle of the week, and that is actually smoke from the West Coast wildfires that run all the way up through Canada. That smoke now progressing to the east, really coming right over us and making its way eventually to the East Coast. Temperatures right now, it's very comfortable outside, but the fact that we're already into the low to mid 70s here at 7:53, gives you an idea where we're going. That purple you see around the Kansas City metro area, extreme heat warning. It's going to be a baker up there. And then that orange, that is a heat advisory. Now you notice, doesn't intrude upon any of our counties. We still have that flood warning there for the Osage River. But when you look at the heat dome up in the far northern portion of the United States, it gives you an idea that as that sags down, it'll actually be our northern counties that get a little bit hotter than what it does down to the south. And actually, exactly where the dome tops out is where we see the severe thunderstorm risk for today in the low category. They've got a chance for some hail and some high winds. Any rain that we see is going to be pretty quick. It'll be in the southern and eastern portions of southwest Missouri, south of I-44. Everybody else up to the north and the west is going to stay dry. Get ready for a hot weekend, though. We'll eventually get some of those heat advisories that pop up for us as we're going to roll mid-90s all the way to next week. We'll be back, wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. Even with the highly transmissible Delta variant spreading, the CDC is staying with its guidance that fully vaccinated people can go without masks in most indoor settings. The agency says Americans who have not received COVID-19 shots still need to wear a face covering. A sweeping internet outage briefly took down dozens of the world's biggest internet companies, including Google and Amazon, as well as major banks and airlines. The outage appears to have been triggered by a bug at Akamai, which hosts websites on its network platform. Akamai told CBS News it has implemented a fix and said this was not a result of a cyber attack. Authorities in Ohio are investigating the drowning death of a 14-year-old girl at a water park. Following a frantic search, a lifeguard pulled the girl out after about half an hour. She was given CPR but never recovered. Let's check in with Michael with a final look at your forecast.
Our key factor headed into the weekend. 90 today, mid-90s, going to feel easily like 100 on Sunday all the way through the middle of next week.
Well, a rare snow leopard was captured on camera walking around in eastern parts of Kazakhstan in the first sighting of the species in 5 years. That's why this is so cool. In the video footage provided by the Russian branch of the worldwide Fund for Nature, animal native to Central and South Asia was seen in its natural habitat, walking around, carefully observing the terrain, and of course he had to come sniff that camera. According to estimates by WWF Asia, there are only about 100 to 110 snow leopards left in Kazakhstan due to human activities such as poaching and overgrazing.
Great video of it too. Look at the quality.
Yeah.
Not that one, but the other one. I know that's night, but yeah, that's really cool. All right, thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning. We'll be back with more news and weather when we see you at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.
In the eyes of your